Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave on this Super Bowl Sunday. It wasn't much of a game. Quite frankly, I think most people thought it would be, and it wasn't. Not like a couple of years ago when it was 38-35 on a Harrison Butker game-winning field goal. Instead, tonight it was Philly domination. A Philly special in many ways. Not like what we saw when they last won a Super Bowl, but man, their defense was outstanding tonight, and they really made life tough on Patrick Mahomes, who by the end of the night, stats looked a lot better than they really were. He had two 50-yard touchdown passes to Xavier Worthy. Other than that, a lot of interceptions, a lot of pressure on the quarterback, a lot of mistakes by Mahomes, and it's one of the few times you see Andy Reid really outcoached in just about every category. Now, I will say this, their goal going in was to stop Saquon Barkley, and they did a pretty good job as I look at the numbers here, that Barkley in his night did not have many, 25 carries for 57 yards. That's doing a pretty good job of stopping a running back. The problem is, that was pretty much all they did. And then the rest of it was Philadelphia going down the field, passing the ball. A.J. Brown came up with a touchdown. So did Devontae Smith. First Alabama player ever to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. How about that? And the Chiefs end up just running into a buzzsaw, quite frankly. They were down 40-6. Final score is 40-22. I'd like to get your opinions about that game, what you saw from it, what you learned from it, and what you take about the Steelers and how far they are from competing at this level, and what they need to do in the offseason. We also have a QR code nightly sports call question for you, and all you have to do is hit that up. And here's our question. Are you happy to see Kenny Pickett win a Super Bowl? Now, he only made one pass, and it was a bad one in this game. He came up in mop-up roll. But let us know what you think at KDKA.com/connect. Are you happy to see Kenny Pickett win a Super Bowl? And he'll get a nice ring for that as well. 412-575-2600 is the number to call. We'll get into that tonight. We'll also talk about this offseason, and there have been a lot of developments over the last 24 hours with regard to players who have big names and big contracts or just looking to continue a career. We found out today through both Jay Glazer and Adam Schefter that Aaron Rodgers is no longer wanted as the Jets quarterback. They pretty much said it's time to move on, so at age 41 he will, but the question is, does he retire or does he look for another job? And since, of course, the Steelers have so much questions about their quarterback situation, all of these guys who are available are going to be linked to the Steelers in one way or another, whether it's through betting odds or whatever. And right now the Steelers are one of the teams that people in betting circles will look to and say, well, that's a destination for Aaron Rodgers. How do you feel about that at 412-575-2600? My answer is no, thank you, move on and get to something else. I still think Fields is the most likely answer. I still think they're going to draft somebody, if not this year, next. And they're just going to have to, wait until they figure out their quarterback of the future because Aaron Rodgers ain't it. He's 41. People link Matthew Stafford to possibly being traded here. But again, there's so many components of that trade financially that have to be met. Some say, how about a package deal with Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford coming here? I think there's a different way to put together a wide receiver room, given what happened last year. They have a lot of decisions to make, starting with George Pickens. If they trade him, now we see that Deebo Samuel is available because he asked the 49ers for a trade, and they said they're going to do what they can to try to get him. Okay, well, how about would they be interested in a slightly used George Pickens, and the Steelers may take a more used Deebo Samuel, and then the Steelers must then sign somebody like a T. Higgins. I don't know if that's possible. It takes two to tango. But if you would bring in a Higgins and a Samuel and then you add somebody else, Roman Wilson's coming back, Austin, you have a pretty decent wide receiving room. And you're going to need that to compete with the Joneses, so to speak, in this NFL world. We'll get into that, 412-575-2600. You can hit us up also on Twitter. It's at KD Pomp. We'll also get into this Four Nations tournament with hockey shutting down. Do you think it's a good thing for the hockey world to shut down for 2 weeks right now in the middle of the season? Myself, I have mixed feelings on this. First of all, I would like to see other countries involved, not just four. Politics enter into sports. I never liked that combination, but that's how it is right now. So Russia has been excluded, but the Russians always have one of the best hockey teams in these international competitions. but also it just shuts down everything. And I don't know if that's good for the teams involved. You may say it's good for guys like Sidney Crosby and all the elite players who do get to play here. It is going to be entertaining for sure. But what does it offer the team that, on top of the standings, for example, playing well? How about if somebody gets hurt? What does it do for the actual team there? 412-575-2600. We'll take those calls when we come back. We got some guys on the line right now. Want to open it up for more. Again, 412-575-2600. That's the number of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call right here on KDKA+. All right, welcome back to our show tonight. This is our GMC Sierra tweet of the night. Comes from Josh Reynolds, and look at this. Howie Roseman, who's the GM of the Eagles, you want to talk how to make some great changes in one off season. This may be the best in NFL history, as Josh cites here. He hired his defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, who did a fantastic job with that group. He drafted Quentin Mitchell. He drafted Cooper DeJean, who you saw had a pick 6 tonight. He signed Zach Bond, who's turned out to be an outstanding linebacker for them. Also hired Kellen Moore to be their OC, and now he may end up with a head coach of New Orleans. Who knows? They brought in Saquon Barkley. They did so many things. That's how you turn your franchise around, or at least help it turn around in one quick off season. And the Steelers need to somehow be a little bit more radical and willing to do that kind of stuff, after what they've gone through. But so far, we haven't seen much change over there at all. At 412-575-2600. Let us know what you think about that. I just want to tell you about how dynamic that Eagles first half especially was defensively. The Chiefs, for the entire first half, only 23 yards. That was it. They were 0 for 6 on third down. Pat Mahomes couldn't do anything. He was under siege. And, they didn't do it by blitzing an awful lot. It was just pressure up front, and they knew exactly where people were in coverage. It was unbelievable what you saw in that first half of play. In fact, that was the lowest output of points in any Super Bowl since 1990. You would not have expected that, with Kansas City being the team that got smothered in that first half, but they did. All right, let's get to the phone lines at 412-575-2600. A reminder to you, join us for the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. That'll be on tonight after the late news, 11:35. We're live with Mark Caboli, Chris Adamski, and Ray Fittipaldo. A lot of Steeler talk and football talk in general on that show. Let's begin with Keith in Knoxville tonight. Hey, Keith, how are you?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Bob. Great show as usual.
Appreciate it.
I'm glad you touched base on Kenny Pickett. It was good that he got a Super Bowl ring. Considering the fact that the Steelers haven't gotten their last ring since 2009, so it's really good to see that he can just go from the Pitt Panthers, get drafted into the Steelers, 1 year later go to the Philadelphia Eagles and get a Super Bowl ring. Congrats to him.
Yeah, I guess so, and I agree. But I also know that he forced his way out of here with some of his unwillingness to do certain things that, as a, pretty much second-year player, that he really shouldn't have been doing. However, he got to his hometown. That's where he's from. He's playing for that team. He threw a pass in the Super Bowl. It was off target, but so what? He gets a Super Bowl ring, so congrats to him as well. 412-575-2600. Let's go to Jim in Penn Hills, who joins us right now on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Hello, Jim.
Hey, Bob. Yeoman work this evening, so you're going to feel great for Kenny Pickett. He went from the worst organization in the NFL, the laughingstock of the league, to Super Bowl champion.
I don't know. That's a little bit harsh when you say worst in the league. I get what you're saying. They haven't done anything since playoffs in 8 years. You're right, but worst. I wouldn't go that far, but he got a chance, and you know what? He got some opportunity to play this year when Hurts got injured. He did get in the game tonight, only in a mop-up role, but good for him. Mike in Westview also wants to talk about Kenny Pickett. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Hey, Bob. I just wanted to say I think Kenny Pickett had a great career at Pitt, and I think a lot of Pittsburgh fans kind of tend to get down on him, and I just, a guy played for Pitt, guy played for the Steelers. I mean, come on, that's, I'm glad to see him get a Super Bowl ring. How about you?
I'm happy for him as well. He went to his hometown team, got an opportunity. I just didn't like how things broke down here. And it's really funny, in that one preseason where he, got a chance to play year number 2, man, and he was in there, or was it year number 1? I can't remember. When he went 5 possessions, 5 touchdowns, we did those games, and we were all convinced that he was going to be, just really good, at least for a young quarterback, and then it all just went the other way. And maybe it was because they ended up not going to him, and when they did, it was kind of a late in the game against the Jets when they made that move. But whatever the case, it just didn't work out here. I think their offensive play calling was bad. Matt Canada did not help him in any way. In fact, if you watched the first half of tonight's game, you would have thought maybe that the Chiefs' offense is being run by Matt Canada. I give a credit to Philadelphia, too, because they made it difficult for sure on them. They couldn't do much. Brad in Brookline joins us. Hello, Brad. How are you?
Hey, Bob. Just a few points I made. Who really cares about Kenny Pickett? All right, he won a Super Bowl, but he didn't do anything. But my point is the Steelers organization is so stale. Why they're nowhere near competing? Why not trade a guy like T.J. Watt to get draft capital for the upcoming years? I mean, what's the purpose? What's the purpose of keeping him?
Yeah, I mean, we've had these conversations before, Brad. I would have said that if there, and I would do my due diligence. It doesn't mean I would trade him. It means that I will consider options, and if they're good enough, I would do it. Not just him, but Minkah Fitzpatrick, quite frankly. Whatever it would take to increase my chances of turning this around. And I do think they still need a lot of help, but I do think, as I just cited with Howie Roseman and what he did in one offseason, there are things you can do. Now, that was pretty drastic. A new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator, two really good draft picks who came in and helped them immediately. Saquon Barkley signs. The Steelers have got to be aggressive when it comes to their wide receiving group. They have to do something here to change the dynamic of that group, while in the same time trying to figure out this quarterback situation, which I don't think has an answer to it this offseason. I really don't. I think it's going to be Fields with some other people on the roster. I don't know if you can draft someone where they're going to be drafting unless you get highly aggressive and move into the top 10 to do it. Maybe next year is the right time for that, but they still have a long way to go to solve that issue. And when you chase that quarterback problem year in and year out, you end up being involved in conversations for Aaron Rodgers, for Stafford, whatever. Every time there's a quarterback who is loose as a free agent or trade bait, they're linked to Pittsburgh because the Pittsburgh Steelers right now don't have clarity at the quarterback position. So they got to figure that out for sure at 412-575-2600. That's the number to call. By the way, I just want to tell you about some of these numbers defensively. Josh Sweat had almost 3 sacks, I think officially 2.5. Milton Williams had 2 sacks, 2 tackles for losses. All total, they had 6 sacks tonight. They also had 12 pressures. They were all over Patrick Mahomes and made it really difficult for him. And that goes to show you, if you get enough pressure on a quarterback, I don't care how good that quarterback is, you can make him look average at best. Arm is next in Brookline. What's up, Arm?
Well, we're talking about the Steelers and their draft picks and what they need, and we're talking about like wide receivers and running backs. Well, years ago, there was a commercial about automobiles on TV. And the commercial said, it's what's up front that counts.
Oh, no question.
I think that the Steelers need to improve on their offensive linemen and defensive linemen. Give that quarterback enough time to throw, and you'll see a big difference. And the other point I want to bring out is Derrick Henry, 5th oldest running back in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And he's one of the better ones.
Yeah, he is, and he had a lot of gas in the tank, still does, and that's why they signed him. At the time, some people wondered 2 years, $16 million, that's a lot. Not for him. He was outstanding, second only to Barkley in that department. But you're right about lines, trenches, it matters. But the Steelers have devoted a lot of draft capital. 2 number-1 picks on tackles, 2nd-round pick on the center, Zach Frazier, a 4th-round pick on the guy who's now at right tackle, Mason McCormick. So they've done that, but they need to really figure out their defensive line. You saw tonight what Philadelphia was doing. As I said, they weren't blitzing all that much, if at all, in the first half, yet they got constant pressure. That makes everyone better on your defense because the secondary, you don't have to sit that back in you can do a lot of different things back there with the pressure just up front guys. And the Steelers need more of it. They're getting older up there. Ogunjobi, I don't even know if he's going to be back this year. Cam Hayward's getting up there. He had a really good year, but still, he's getting up there in age. And some of these young guys just have not done what you expect in year 2 or 3, respectively. So they need to address defensive line more so than offensive line, but they better hope their offensive line they've drafted turns out to be the real deal and gives some protection to their quarterback, whomever that may be. We're going to take a break, come back with more. 412-575-2600. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Also, the Penguins picked up a defenseman from the Utah Hockey Club today, a 23-year-old kid. I don't know what their plans are for him at this moment. Probably not up here, probably down at Wilkes-Barre Scranton. Other than that, though, a lot of people overreacted last night when they saw Tristan Jarry was recalled. The only reason that's happening so they can send guys back down to Wilkes-Barre and continue to play through these 2 weeks where the NHL has gone on hiatus now, and you won't see another game for a couple of weeks. But this exhibition tournament called Four Nations, interesting. I think you'll see some great hockey. I remember the Canada Cup back in 1987, I believe it was, when Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky skated on the same line. They took down the Russian team, and it was pretty iconic, pretty amazing. But, I think the time for these kind of games is not in the middle of a season like this. It just seems like a lot of time down for the league to just stop business for 2 weeks while a certain amount of players get to play. It should be very entertaining, as I said, and I understand why players want to play in it. I just don't know why it benefits a team or how it benefits a team, especially a team that's playing well right now and may have to, kind of restart themselves after a 2-week break, because a lot of these guys are going out of town. May be good for some, may not be good for others. We'll see. But the Penguins, back-to-back games this weekend, a very good effort in New York. They beat the Rangers. A really decent effort last night, I thought, against the Flyers, but they ended up losing that game. Again, just giving up some chances that could not be stopped by Joel Blomqvist, and they ended up losing 3-2. If they had won that game, they could have been in position to make a little bit of a run here. They still can, but again, you got too many teams to overcome in the standings to get to the final wild card. But 2 points last night would have made a big difference. So that's going to wrap it up for our program tonight. Join us again at 11:35 on KDK. And once again, take a look at this QR code and KDK.com/connect. Are you happy that Kenny Pickett won a Super Bowl? The answer is yes. 62% say yes, no 38%. The showdown, we'll have Mark Caboli on with me, Ray Fittipaldo, Chris Adamski, a lot to get into there. And we'll see you back here tomorrow night at 10:35. So, thank you for joining us on this Sunday night. Hope you had a good weekend and a good Super Bowl. Even the game did not live up to what you expected. We'll see you at 11 o'clock on KDKA. Have a good night.